Studies indicate that the vast majority of serial killers are below the age of 30 and kill for enjoyment or for money. The motive may differ, but the method and end game is murder. Here's a look at some of our most infamous serial killers. Richard Benjamin Speck was born December 6, 1941. He roamed the streets of Chicago's South Side, seemingly as a regular citizen. But at the age of 24, on the evening of July 13, 1965, Speck engaged in a brutal and horrific murder spree that would terrorize the neighborhood and South Chicago Community Hospital. Speck systematically stalked, raped, tortured, and murdered 8 female nursing students in the span of less than 24 hours. Raping one victim, Speck's brutality and strategic wickedness ended with an arrest and a death penalty conviction. The death penalty would later be overturned due to a technicality. Speck died of a heart attack in prison one day before his 50th birthday. Nanny Doss was known as the Grinning Granny. This seemingly warm and gentile woman of counsel and care presented as a family woman and support for her husbands, 4 of whom she would kill herself. Between the 1920s and 1954, Nanny, also known as the Lonely Hearts Killer, the Black Widow, and Lady Bluebeard, would be found responsible and eventually guilty for the murders of 11 people, including 4 husbands, 2 children, her sister, her own mother, 2 grandsons, and her mother-in-law. Using subtle methods like a delightfully prepared breakfast, lunch, or dinner laced with poisons, Nanny would rid herself of those she deemed inconveniences or killjoys in her tormented and socially tortuous life. The entirety of motive and psychology may never be revealed surrounding Nanny Doss, but what is clear is that she herself would be spared the death penalty in Oklahoma, the state of her conviction, precisely because she was a woman. So beware, the sweet old lady offering you dessert may not be who or what you think she is. Edmund Emil Kemper III was born on December 18th, 1948. A California kid, Kemper is noted for his humongous size. He was 6 feet 9 inches. However, his uncommon IQ can dwarf even his height. It is reported that Kemper's IQ was 145, a remarkable score. Kemper was raised in an abusive household, diagnosed with schizophrenia as a 15-year-old boy. Kemper earned the moniker of the co-ed killer for the fact that most of his victims were female college students. At 15, he was pardoned to a psychiatric facility by medical professionals after murdering his grandmother and grandfather, stating to police that he just wanted to see what it was like to kill grandma. Upon release, Kemper would begin an onslaught of murdering 8 women, some being hitchhikers, stabbing, shooting, smothering, strangling, and killing the women, decapitating them, and having inhumation and sex with the corpses and eating portions of his victims. He evaded the California death penalty during a period where it was discontinued, and he enjoys his life in prison, according to reports. Dorothea Helen Puente was born January 9th, 1929. Puente was director of a Sacramento, California boarding home for elders. Puente used and abused her position of trusted landlady to murder various mentally ill and elderly tenants prior to cashing their Social Security and benefit checks. Puente used the F Street house, as it was known, to pose as a helper of people, but her reputation was mixed and never acted upon. It is said that she withheld tenants' checks and mail and demonstrated a general stinginess. As bodies began to pile up at the home due to drug overdoses on items like codeine, in 1988, after an abnormal frequency of missing people alarmed social workers and authorities, an investigation at the F Street home revealed disturbed soil and beneath it, the body of Leona Carpenter, blowing the lid off of Puente's hidden house of macabre. Still able to evade arrest, Puente was eventually apprehended, convicted, and sentenced to life in prison in California, where she died in 2011. Kristen Heather Gilbert, also known by the surname Strickland, was born November 13, 1967. This woman was one who people felt could be trusted, not only as a friend, but with your very life. She was a practicing nurse in Massachusetts and earns her place on our list by being found guilty for the murders of 4 people and the attempted murder of 2 more. Gilbert's method of murder is, of course, sly and done in broad daylight all at once. Gilbert induced her patients into cardiac arrest by injecting their intravenous therapy bags with unsolicited and inappropriate substances. Of note, the untraceable drug epinephrine, a heart stimulant, was applied in massive doses, causing heart attacks, overwhelming stress, and failure. Guess who came to the aid of the suffering patients as a heroine in wait? That's right, Gilbert. She would successfully resuscitate some patients, but not all. For her role as a murderer of 4 men, Gilbert was apprehended in 1996 and serves a life sentence in Massachusetts correctional facilities. Juana Barraza was born on December 27, 1957. A former professional wrestler in Mexico, Barraza enters our list of killers in grand fashion. The former star of the ring, known as the Old Lady Killer or La Mata Viejitas, earns her place on our list by being fingered for the murder of between 42 and 48 elderly women between the late 90s and 2003. A chief prosecutor says that Barraza has a brilliant mind, being quite clever and careful. All of Barraza's victims were elderly women over the age of 60 who lived alone. She would bludgeon the women or strangle them before robbing them. Barraza earned the trust and access to her victims by posing as a government worker providing social welfare assistance. Once thought to be the work of 2 killers by law enforcement, Barraza was finally captured in 2003 and sentenced to 759 years in prison, ending her brutal reign upon elders. Her career in violence outside of it made molehills of her career inside the ring. What did you think about our list of serial killers and mass murderers? Leave a comment, subscribe, and hit that notification button. Until next time.